And Nikole Killion is joining us now from the Hill. So, Nikole, the article will be delivered to the United States Senate at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight. What happens after that?
Well, after that, we will see the senators get sworn in the next day, although the trial won't officially get underway for about 2 more weeks. Former President Trump will get about a week after tomorrow to respond to the article. The House will also have an opportunity to file a pre-trial brief, as will former President Trump. And then we expect the trial to get underway in earnest on February 9th.
So then at that point, do we have any idea how long this trial could take and who will preside over it?
We don't. Those mechanics and logistics are still being worked out among Senate leadership. Certainly Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has indicated that this trial will go quickly and that he wants to move on it. We have heard other Senate Democrats say they think it could last a matter of days. But again, a lot of these logistics are still being worked out. As for who might preside, that is also an unresolved question. Typically speaking, it would be the Chief Justice who would preside over the impeachment trial. Of course, the last one this time last year was Chief Justice John Roberts. But again, since the former president is no longer in office, it is kind of uncharted waters. And so potentially Vice President Harris could preside, or Senate Pro Tem Patrick Leahy could potentially preside as well, being the senior senator. So we really will have to wait and see. Leahy did say in an interview yesterday that he has been studying up and preparing just in case. He said there's certainly a possibility that he may be called on, but again, at this point, no decisions have been made.
So what's interesting, Nikole, as you know, is there are some who've questioned whether the Senate even has the authority to hear the impeachment case, people like Rand Paul, people like Marco Rubio, and they say it's because President Trump is no longer in office. And we've spoken to a number of lawyers, legal experts, and they say that the Senate does have the authority to do this. What's interesting to me, Emery and Nikole, is that you're not hearing a lot of Republicans suggesting that this is a witch hunt or that this is a hoax, the way that they did during the first impeachment, because the evidence is evidence that we have all seen. All Americans have seen why President Trump is being impeached a second time because of the events of the 6th of January. What they're arguing is procedure. So the question, of course, is what are you hearing from your sources about how some feel whether or not the Senate has the authority to hold this trial and to convict the president?
Well, it is sparking quite a bit of debate among constitutional scholars, but also here in the Senate. And many Senate Republicans are embracing that argument that the Senate doesn't have that constitutional authority or jurisdiction to hold a trial against a president who is no longer in office, considering the main goal of impeachment is to, in fact, remove an office holder. And so they don't believe those powers can be used against a private citizen, which former President Trump is now. But that being said, you have a number of Senate Democrats and even some Republicans like Mitt Romney argue that it is constitutional, and they point back to other precedents. For instance, back in the late 1800s, there was a Secretary of War who was impeached actually after he had already resigned. And so many point to that example as a case where a former government official still was subjected to a Senate impeachment trial.
So the Wall Street Journal has a really interesting report out, and within the report, the Journal alleges that the former president pressed the Justice Department to go directly to the Supreme Court to try and overturn the election results. That's not the only revelation that we're learning about. What else can you tell us?
Yeah, that's right. Well, according to the Journal's reporting, it was only after that, move tried and failed that the president reportedly tried to then replace the acting attorney general at the time, Jeffrey Rosen. The New York Times also reported that, and CBS News has confirmed that the former president did consider replacing Rosen with another official who shared more of his views with respect to election fraud, but only relented after Justice Department officials threatened to resign. One thing that is also unclear with respect to the impeachment trial is whether this will become a further evidence that is added to the House impeachment manager's case. Right now, they want to stick to a very narrow focus as far as sticking with the insurrection, but certainly this does raise other questions. And at this point, impeachment managers say they're not going to preview their strategy, but certainly certainly something to watch if they do add this as further evidence against the president when it comes to trial.
So real quick, Nikole, with regards to this timeline, there are some who are saying, look, the timeline actually benefits the president of the United States. Not only does he have time to prepare his legal defense, but, you know, these things get in the rearview mirror. There's a new president, there's a new agenda, there's a new administration. We're trying to get these vaccines out. We're trying to pass the stimulation package. Others say, actually, this does not benefit the president. It actually will perhaps allow some Republican senators to get closer to convicting the president because more and more information is coming out, like this bombshell report in the Wall Street Journal that the president of the United States may have pressured the Department of Justice to overturn the election. I mean, as this stuff continues to come out, to me, it makes it harder to for some Republicans to say, you know, don't believe your lying eyes and what you saw because what you saw didn't actually happen.
Well, I think it remains to be seen. I mean, at this point, it doesn't seem that there are the votes just yet to convict. Keep in mind that in the House, there were only 10 Republicans who broke and voted to impeach. Here in the Senate, there will need to be 17 Republicans at least to go along with Democrats in order to convict the former president. So even in spite of that evidence, you know, it's still possible that he could be acquitted. And I think that is why you are hearing a number of these Senate Republicans, particularly folks like Marco Rubio that you mentioned earlier, saying, look, you know, I'm going to try to end this trial as soon as I can. So, you know, we'll have to see as more revelations, if more revelations come to light. But I think also from the House impeachment manager's perspective, they feel, as you also alluded to, that the video that was out there, what happened here at the Capitol, and considering so many of these lawmakers were traumatized themselves by what happened, that should be evidence enough to convict this president and potentially bar him from serving office ever again.
It's going to be an interesting week. Nikole, thank you so much.
You bet.